Welcome to an unimaginable world as we dive deep into the demented mind of Andrei Chikatilo, one of history's most notorious serial killers. Join us as we explore his chilling crimes and unravel the twisted roots of his sadistic desires. So, grab your popcorn and buckle up for this mind-bending true story. So, Alex, what can you tell me about Chikatilo's childhood and how it contributed to his dark personality?
Indeed, Chikatilo's childhood was marred by poverty, war, and severe disruption, which likely played a key role in shaping his grim demeanor. Born in the famine-stricken Ukraine, the fear and scarcity he experienced from an early age deeply affected him. The traumatic events in his early life, such as the loss of his older brother, who was allegedly kidnapped and eaten by starving neighbors during the famine, likely fostered a dark, nihilistic worldview. Furthermore, his sexual development was also distorted due to the absence of privacy in his family's small shack and his mother's reports of sexual assault by occupying German soldiers. As a result, Chikatilo grew to associate sexuality with violence and dominance, which later manifested in his horrific crimes. Since Chikatilo's early environment was dominated by malicious acts, he grew to perceive the world as a cruel and disorderly place, where survival of the fittest was the only law that mattered. This shaped his morality, warping him into a person who saw no wrong in inflicting pain and terror onto others. His upbringing left a profound and disturbing imprint on his character, turning him into the monster that we know him as today. Andrei Romanovich Chikatilo was born on October 16, 1936, in Yabloknoye, Ukraine, during a time of widespread famine. He was raised in poverty and allegedly had a brother who was cannibalized before he was born. His early years were tough, with constant hiding from the German soldiers during World War II, and having to deal with a condition he suffered from birth called water on the brain, which led to genital urinary tract problems and inability to sustain an erection as he grew older. His upbringing was further complicated by an absent father who had been drafted to fight in World War II and subsequently taken as a prisoner of war. Chikatilo was thus primarily raised by his mother, a stern and intractable woman who instilled in him a fear of the world outside their impoverished home. The ridicule he faced from his peers due to his physical problems only heightened his sense of isolation and alienation. Furthermore, the sexually repressive environment of Soviet-era Ukraine, coupled with Chikatilo's own sexual inadequacies, might have played a significant role in his psychological development. His first foray into sexual violence allegedly took place when he was a young teacher, using his position of power to assault and molest his pupils. These detestable acts marked the beginning of Chikatilo's distressing downward spiral into serial murder and necrophilia, which later led to his infamous moniker, the Butcher of Rostov. In addition to these well-documented incidents, Chikatilo's behavior was reportedly unusual even during periods of relative calm. A silent, lonesome child, he appeared to draw a certain perverse pleasure from the suffering of others, a characteristic trait in many serial killers. His grades in school were never exceptionally high, perhaps a reflection of the cognitive damage from his neonatal hydrocephalus, or water on the brain. Yet he exhibited a particular interest in literature and history, possibly seeing in these tales of power and conquest an echo of his own brutal instincts. As Chikatilo matured into adulthood, his issues only deepened. He could not forge lasting relationships with women due to his erectile dysfunction, an issue that only intensified his self-loathing. When he married, his wife soon realized that he could only achieve sexual satisfaction through acts of violence and domination. This led to an abusive marriage, but societal norms and fear kept her silent. After being forced to resign from his teaching position due to sexual allegations, Chikatilo found work as a supply clerk. His travels related to this job provided him ample opportunity to commit heinous crimes undetected.
Initially, his victims were young boys and girls whom he would lure with promises of candy or money. Eventually, however, as his killing escalated and his methods grew more gruesome, he began targeting women, often prostitutes or homeless individuals who were unlikely to be reported missing. Throughout his terrifying reign, Chikatilo managed to evade capture due to a mix of imperfect forensic technology, Soviet bureaucracy, and possible corruption within the local police force. It wasn't until 1990 that a vigilant officer spotted him acting suspiciously at a train station, bringing about the chain of events that led to his eventual capture and conviction. Despite the monstrous nature of his acts, Chikatilo's life and crimes offer a chilling look into the depths of depravity to which the human mind can descend when molded by a perfect storm of hardship, abnormal psychology, and unrestricted power. His legacy lives on as a grim reminder of the darkness lurking beneath the surface of society, a testament to the necessity of empathy, respect, and psychological understanding in the aim of preventing such horrific events in the future. Furthermore, one cannot ignore the deeply twisted and complex irony wrapped in the figure of Chikatilo. He was a paradox of the Soviet society, a man who held a semi-respectable position as a teacher, but used his authority for unconscionable purposes. His actions reverberated negatively throughout the community, simultaneously undermining public faith in the system and intensifying
The ominous atmosphere that pervaded Soviet-era Russia. Chikatilo's ultimate fall came as a result of detailed investigative work, incorporating elements of criminal profiling that was a relatively new concept at that time. When he was eventually caught and convicted, his trial was a sensational event, bringing the terrifying figure of the Butcher of Rostov into the harsh glare of public scrutiny. His capture did not just signify an end to his monstrous deeds, but also served as a dark, cautionary tale about the hidden evils that may lurk beneath the surface of ordinary communities. Absolutely, it's mind-boggling. By day, he was a married man with 2 kids, a respected teacher in Russian literature, an engineer, and a proud Soviet Party member. But behind this facade, Chikatilo hid a sinister secret. By night, he would lure his victims into secluded locations, with the intention of raping and murdering them. It's perplexing to even consider. His daytime facade was so deceiving that even his own family and close friends couldn't imagine the dark secrets that lurked behind his polished exterior. He was known as a passionate educator, skillful engineer, devoted family man, and a loyal Soviet Party member. Yet what lurked beneath this pristinely maintained veneer was a side of Chikatilo known to none. During the night, he unfurled his vile desires that lay dormant during the day, becoming an unimaginably ruthless killer. Using his ability to manipulate and charm, he would entice unsuspecting victims, often vulnerable young women and children, to isolated locations. His intentions, however, were far from innocent. His objective? To satisfy his perverse delusions that drove him to commit acts of unspeakable horror, inclusive of rape and murder. Hidden behind the ambiguity of night, this mild-mannered man transformed into a monster. This was a part of his life that he kept buried deep under multiple layers, conspicuous to none, as he navigated through his respectable daytime roles, resulting in one of the most shocking cases of deception known to man.
What could have possibly turned this seemingly normal man into such a monster? As I delved further into his past, I uncovered a history of abuse and trauma that had shaped him into the person he became. From a dysfunctional family to a series of failed relationships, each event had chipped away at his humanity, leaving behind a hollow shell filled with anger and despair. It was evident that his need for control and power had been born out of an inability to cope with the turbulence in his life. The more I examined his story, the more I realized that beneath the monstrous facade, there lay a broken and tormented individual struggling to find solace in a world that had turned its back on him.
It is believed that Chikatilo's sordid desires were fueled by his cruel experiences, which included watching his mother getting raped and rejection from adults growing up. He was fired from his teaching job in 1974 due to allegations of sexual misconduct with students, and he relocated his family to another town to continue his wicked plans. Having moved to this new town, Chikatilo found himself an obscure position as a clerk in a factory. This role provided him ample opportunities to blend into the background, his unassuming demeanor belying the monstrous alter ego that lurked beneath. It was during these years that his horrific crimes escalated, his newfound seclusion enabling him to carry out his deeds without raising suspicion, his vile predilections becoming increasingly apparent as his killing spree continued unabated into the late 1980s. With each gruesome act, Chikatilo grew bolder, yet his despicable actions were yet to be revealed, keeping the community in an unwary shroud of safety, unaware of the nefarious beast in their midst. As the years rolled on and the once unfamiliar town now a hunting ground for his deadly pursuits, Chikatilo's monstrous appetites grew insatiable, claiming an ever-increasing number of innocent lives. Unbeknownst to him, authorities were painstakingly piecing together the puzzling trail of carnage left in his wake, slowly closing the net around the elusive predator. The seemingly ordinary man who went about his daily duties, never betraying the darkness that resided within him, now found himself caught in the crosshairs, with the once impenetrable facade beginning to crack. It wasn't until 1990 that the vicious creature who had stalked the shadows finally found himself cornered, faced with the horrifying extent of his depravity laid bare for all to see. Chikatilo's reign of terror drew to a dramatic close as he succumbed to the tightening noose of justice, his chilling confession confirming the most dreadful fears of all who uncovered the gruesome reality of his life. The harrowing tale of Chikatilo serves as a solemn reminder that, for some, the line between man and monster can be all too thin and treacherously ill-defined. His twisted deeds remain a chilling testament to the depths of human depravity, as the horrors wrought upon his victims reverberate through history, leaving profound and haunting echoes of the vilest evil ever wrought by the hands of man.
So how did he start committing those gruesome murders?
Gaining more malevolence, Chikatilo purchased a second house in 1978 to act upon his sadistic desires. He lured a 9-year-old Lana to the house and attempted to rape her. Failing the assault, he then stabbed and killed her. He discovered his dark thrill in gaining power over another person and murdering them. It was just the beginning of his chilling killing spree.
That's totally horrifying. He actually bought a house for these inhumane acts. What happened then?
Oh, it gets worse. The second house of death became his playground of horrors. He grew more emboldened with each passing day. The lack of suspicion framing his vile intentions played right into his hands. Chikatilo lured young and vulnerable individuals like moths to a flame to this house. He often used the ploy of offering food or assistance to bring them to his solitary dwelling.
So he used deceit to have his way, never suspected by the victims or the police, it seems.
Yes, his veneer of respectability and the strategic location of his house, well isolated from prying eyes, camouflaged his sinister deeds. Victims oblivious to their impending doom would walk right into the lion's den. Once inside, they faced a perilous fate that none could escape. His monstrous slaughters were executed in the most horrifying way that would chill your bones.
And all this time he got away with it?
Unfortunately, yes. His chilling charade of feigned innocence and the fear-inducing isolation of his house masked his gruesome murder sprees. The terrifying irony was that while he lived a double life, people around him saw only what he chose to show. The house that was bought with ill intentions became a chilling tale of horror, underlining the depths a man's psyche can plunge into when blinded by sadistic pleasure. It was the perfect crime scene for his horrifying, heart-wrenching acts of violence.
It sounds like a living nightmare. How was he finally caught and brought to justice?
Chikatilo went on a murdering rampage for over a decade. Due to a despicable trail of violence and death, the hunt for the serial killer intensified. Ultimately, Chikatilo's reign of terror ended in 1990, when he was detained by law enforcement and eventually convicted for his horrifying crimes.
That's absolutely terrifying. What happened after he was convicted? What kind of punishment did Chikatilo receive for his heinous acts?
Chikatilo was sentenced to death for his appalling and gruesome actions. He faced a lengthy trial, during which the horrifying details of his crimes were laid bare for the world to see. In February 1994, the infamous killer met his end by way of execution. Although justice was served, the chilling memories of his murderous spree still haunt those who were affected by his gruesome deeds.
It's a sad and frightening story. I can't imagine the agony the victims' families must have gone through. In the end, at least Chikatilo was stopped and wasn't able to harm anyone else.
Indeed, sometimes it takes a tragic event for people to truly understand the importance of vigilance and the need for a strong justice system. Chikatilo's case served as a wake-up call for law enforcement in the region to better handle and investigate such cases in the future, ensuring that justice is served and that innocent lives are protected. Furthermore, the extensive media coverage of Chikatilo's crimes and subsequent trial educated the public on the dark realities that exist within society. The public became more aware of the potential dangers lurking in their communities, prompting parents to be more cautious about their children's whereabouts and well-being. In addition, the case shed light on the importance of communication and cooperation among various law enforcement agencies in tracking down criminals. As a result, we see a stronger emphasis on information sharing and intelligence gathering in today's justice system to prevent such horrific events from happening again. Moreover, the case of Chikatilo carried significant implications for the way society views and handles matters of mental health. His disturbed psyche served as a stark reminder that mental distortions can lead individuals down a path of unspeakable actions. The curiosity surrounding Chikatilo's twisted mentality sparked discussions about the role mental health plays in criminal behavior, influencing a broader emphasis on psychological evaluations and mental health support systems. Also, there was a massive impact on the perception of victims and their families. Prior to this, many simply saw victims as statistics, but the detailed coverage evoked feelings of empathy and a deeper understanding for what these families endure. It resulted in more supportive services and victim-inclusive policies, shaping a more compassionate face of justice. Lastly, the case also prompted a re-evaluation of media's role in public safety. The extensive coverage served as a double-edged sword. While it informed and alerted the public, it also pushed society into a state of fear. This underlines the critical task media have in ensuring their reporting is responsible and balanced. As a result, the ethics of crime reporting has evolved over time, with a heightened focus towards promoting security and not spreading fear. Certainly, following Chikatilo's case, the justice system found itself at a crossroads, under scrutiny, and bearing the expectations of a society yearning for a profound change. Beside the system's stringent need for procedural overhaul, it opened avenues to question the implications of legal precursors in such cases. The role of lawyers was rethought, as people began to understand that their role extended far beyond merely defending or prosecuting. Legal counselors started being seen more as custodians of societal rules and ethics, contributing to the construction of safer communities. Another notable impact was on school systems as avenues for early intervention. The educational community realized the vital role they played in the molding of young minds. Ensuring that students are raised in an environment promoting empathy, respect for others, and a sound understanding of right and wrong has become a larger focus. The case spurred efforts to incorporate behavioral education in the school syllabus, giving birth to a new generation that is better equipped to understand the nuances of mental health and empathize with victims' experiences. At a societal level, Chikatilo's case sparked a surge in community-centric programs focusing on safety and vigilance. Neighbors started paying more attention to their surroundings, forming watch groups and reporting suspicious activity promptly. It bred a culture of community consciousness and responsibility, reinforcing the adage that it takes a village. Additionally, it led to the rise of non-government organizations aimed at providing support and counseling to victims and survivors of such heinous crimes. Philanthropy also witnessed a boost. The evident gaps in legal, mental health, and societal structures moved people to contribute towards changing this. A wave of philanthropists and social entrepreneurs began investing in projects aimed at strengthening these systems. This newfound focus on justice-oriented philanthropy played a crucial part in shaping up the modern structures in place today. Therefore, the ripple effect of Chikatilo's case went beyond reforming law enforcement and justice. It served as a catalyst for a societal shift towards empathy, alertness, and a fervent pursuit of a safer world. The transformations wrought by this case have been instrumental in how we approach mental health, victim support, legal processes, and our collective responsibility towards public safety. As such, it is evident that the ripples caused by Chikatilo's case have not merely straightened the path of the law enforcement and justice system. Instead, it has functioned as a central driving force powering the change in societal orientation towards virtues such as empathy, vigilance, and an unyielding chase for a more secure world. The sweeping shifts propelled by this seminal case have proven to be crucial in the way we engage with issues like mental health, extending support to victims, shaping legal procedures, and acknowledging our shared obligation in preserving public safety. Through the lens of this groundbreaking case, it surfaced how deeply intertwined our system is with the need for a vibrant and compassionate community, an active and astute society, and a stalwart dedication to creating an environment that is safe and welcoming for all. Above all, the influence of Chikatilo's case reiterated the shared humanity that binds us, demonstrating the profound need for empathy, alertness, and the unrelenting quest for a world unmolested by the horrors he perpetrated. Lastly, the changes spurred by this case have been the bedrock upon which future advances in mental health, victim assistance, and our mutual vows of ensuring public safety rest, forever altering the course of human history.
This piece delves into the life and crimes of Andrei Chikatilo, one of history's most infamous serial killers. Born amidst famine in Ukraine, Chikatilo experienced numerous traumatic events in his childhood. His growing years were fraught with suffering, including the disappearance and alleged cannibalization of his elder brother, shaping him into an individual devoid of empathy. His early experiences set the stage for his rise as a violent criminal. As a teacher, his sexual violence began to surface, leading to his downfall and reinforcing his association of sexual pleasure with violence. He was later known by the moniker the Butcher of Rostov. His reign of terror ended in 1990, when he was finally caught and convicted for his heinous crimes. The Chikatilo case not only reshaped law enforcement and the justice system, but also sparked discussions on mental health, societal safety, and the role of the media in reporting crime.